Bitcoin is something you need to be long-term focused.
It would be 500,000, 600,000, 700,000 per Bitcoin.
And I think that Bitcoin one day will be millions of dollars.
Those are various asset managers and bankers describing where they think Bitcoin's going to be heading in the near term. The reason this is so significant is this is some of the smartest money in the entire globe, and these people are saying Bitcoin is going to go to unseen heights. So we're going to look at 6 different predictions, and the first one we're going to be looking at is Standard Chartered, and they have a $200,000 price prediction. Now, Standard Chartered's investment thesis is very clear. Regulatory clarity is going to lead to traditional finance giants pouring in and buying as much Bitcoin as possible.
Regulatory clarity in the US too, and that can see again, a lot more traditional players entering the market. Probably that will see volatility come lower. And again, that should add to that medium-term top side potential, which for me is Bitcoin up to $200,000 this year and $500,000 before Trump leaves office.
Next up, we have Tom Lee from Fundstrat, and he's saying Bitcoin could go to $250,000. We're going to get more bullish as we go down. Now, Tom Lee also has a pretty clear thought here. Asset managers are going to start allocating 1% to 2% of their portfolio to Bitcoin.
Bitcoin is something you need to be long-term focused. I don't think anyone's going to lose money buying here at 90. If they're trying to time this, maybe they'll get lucky and it goes to 70. But to me, Bitcoin could be significantly higher this year, maybe 200, 250. So I think 90 is still a good entry point.
Now we're going to listen to Charles Hoskinson. He's the co-founder of Ethereum, founder of Cardano. He has a $500,000 target for Bitcoin. Now, Charles points out nation-state adoption is starting to ramp up.
Let's be intellectually honest about this. Governments are talking about a strategic reserve of Bitcoin and Bitcoin alone. It's their entry point. And perhaps in 5 or 10 and 15 years, that dialogue and narrative will change. But it is my belief that Bitcoin is going to go to $250,000 to $500,000 within the next 12 to 24 months.
Now, this one's especially significant because he's a founder of a top 10 crypto, Cardano, but he still says, no, all big money, they only care about Bitcoin. Now, this guy, some say, is the most powerful man in the world, Larry Fink, CEO of Blackrock. His prediction, Bitcoin can hit 700K. And he got to 700K by nation states buying more than 1 or 2%, maybe even 5% allocations for Bitcoin.
You could have an internationally based instrument called Bitcoin that will overcome those local fears. The question is, could you see a 2 or 5% allocation? I was with a sovereign wealth fund during this week, and that was the conversation. Should we have a 2% allocation? Should we have a 5% allocation? If everybody adopted that conversation, it would be 500,000, 600,000, 700,000 per Bitcoin.
Now we're getting into multiple commas. Anthony Pompiano, his prediction for Bitcoin, millions. Now, Anthony landed at millions by saying the space race has been replaced by the Bitcoin race.
Yeah, there's tons of people who have all these crazy predictions for what's going to happen in 2025 or 2026. I always say remove the time frame for a second. And if you look at something like gold used to be worth a couple dollars, tens of dollars, hundreds of dollars. Now it's worth thousands of dollars. Bitcoin, same thing. And I think that Bitcoin one day will be millions of dollars. The question is, what is that time frame? Is that a 5-year exercise or is that a 15-year exercise? But I do think that you have an asset that is finite. It is sound money principles in a digital form. I don't know any single asset in the world where the digital version is not more valuable than the analog version.
And I saved the best for last. That's going to be VanEck, and they have a $3 million price prediction. Let's see why. And the 3 million target has a unique perspective. This isn't driven by allocations of portfolios. This is driven by global trade.
And then just this week, Russia did a trade with China, partially denominated in Bitcoin, beginning to really use Bitcoin for the first time as a medium of exchange. And that's not for individuals buying coffee, that's for large-scale transactions where countries are using Bitcoin as an intermediary currency to do, say, an oil trade. And in that scenario where Bitcoin denominated trade could be, say, 5% of global trade, we get to a $3 million price per Bitcoin.
Now, most of these forecasts are for 2025, but not all of them are going to be long-term. But there's a shared narrative. The fiat system, there's too much money printing, there's too much debasement of your currency, and Bitcoin is going to be the lifeboat. Well, there you have it, folks. 6 individual targets from 6 very unique perspectives. And let me know down below where you think Bitcoin is going to be headed in 2025. I'm DZ for Discover Crypto, and I'll see you in your Bitcoin at the top.